And we welcome you to the Tuesday morning show on WGTD. I'm Gregory Berg. First of all, it's always a great day on the morning show when we can sit opposite Amy Greil, who is Executive Director of the Kenosha Community Foundation. And Amy has been a morning show guest on several previous occasions, talking about the great work being done by the Kenosha Community Foundation, making such a difference overall in our community and certainly in the lives of all kinds of different people. And she is here today not only to reiterate the important mission of the Kenosha Community Foundation, but also to talk about a really exciting partnership between the Kenosha Community Foundation and the Kenosha Visiting Nurses Association, a very well-known organization here in the community. And with us as well in the studios is Alex Burse, who sits on the board of directors for kind of a companion organization to the Kenosha Visiting Nurses Association, the KVNA, that takes that acronym and reverses it, and they help to facilitate the giving of grants that draw upon the resources of the Kenosha Visiting Nurses Association to make a difference in the lives of various people. And joining us via the telephone is Linda Scott, who is serving as CEO of the KVNA. And we're going to be talking about a new grant program that is going to be designed to help organizations and agencies that are helping to serve seniors, homebound individuals, and so on in our community. So it's a lot of exciting things we're going to be covering today. So Amy Greil, Alex Burse, Linda Scott, we welcome all three of you to the morning show.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks for having us.
Good to have you here. And Linda Scott, are you still with us?
I am. Thank you.
Glad you can join us as well. Good to have all three of you here. Amy, right off the bat, before we get into this exciting new partnership, it would, I think, be helpful at the outset to have you just summarize the mission and reason for the existence of the Kenosha Community Foundation and your responsibilities as its executive director.
Great. Happy to do so. So I am serving currently over 2 years now as the executive director of the Kenosha Community Foundation, as Greg said. Our mission is to lead, serve, and collaborate with donors to create enduring philanthropy. What does that mean, right? I love the word enduring because that is something that sets us apart from a lot of direct service grant-making organizations such as the United Way or, some of our other grant-making organizations located either here or regionally, but nonetheless, enduring because we manage an endowment fund. We have about $15 million in assets. We invest and then we make grants out to the community based on, emerging issues and opportunities to really further a healthier, thriving community here in Kenosha. Through our strategic plan recently, we really defined a focus on getting upstream and engaging more of our emergent philanthropists in the community, talking about legacy making and facilitating conversations around what sort of legacy and what sort of impact do people want to leave right here at home with their financial resources. So it's a privilege, and I'm thrilled to represent a wonderful board of directors and a small team with the Kenosha Community Foundation.
And of course, what you're talking about when we come to this dimension of enduring legacy and enduring impact, it's this really exciting possibility that somebody can leave this earth knowing that they have left behind them a legacy that will go on doing good even after they're no longer here to be a direct part of that they will live on in a sense.
Correct. And that's the nature of an endowment that is in perpetuity. So we can give grants, and we'll be discussing that today, out of a fund that will exist in perpetuity, as you suggest, Greg. So we love the long game, and we're looking at creating lasting, enduring impact right here.
Fantastic. So the primary thing we want to talk about today is, first of all, a partnership that exists between the Kenosha Community Foundation and the Kenosha Visiting Nurses Association. And in a sense, this parallel organization known as AVNK, and then a whole series of grant possibilities that are so very, very exciting. But Amy, let's hear from you first, kind of the nature and the origins of this partnership, and then we will bring Alex and Linda into the conversation.
Great, thanks. So starting back in 1997, so we're talking almost 30 years, the Kenosha Community Foundation forged a partnership, formalized a partnership, if you will, with the Kenosha Visiting Nurses Association. And interestingly, we are both about 100 years old. So, talking about some of the oldest nonprofits in the community, obviously with different missions, but we came together formally in 97 when the Kenosha Visiting Nurses Association had a fundraiser, raised $21,000, and opened what we call an organizational fund, which meant that it's a reserved fund. We invested as part of our pool, but it's not our money. It resides it's the property of the organization itself, but it provides a place that people can invest, and then for a rainy day, or for however those resources are needed, they're entitled to reach in and use the endowment fund that we host. So technically it would be like a quasi-endowment for whatever that matters. It was never our money as a organizational fund, but now as we talk about this, it changes the nature of the endowment as we get into our conversation and kind of talk about the differences that this grant program now is going to be able to make locally forever. So.
Very good. So at this point, we want to draw into the conversation Linda Scott and Alex Burse, who are both involved in what I've been calling a kind of a parallel organization to the Kenosha Visitors Nurses Association, the KVNA, the AVNK, which has, in a sense, a related but distinct function. So we welcome both of you, as we said before. Alex, let's begin with you. Just a little bit of background on your own participation in the Kenosha Visiting Nurses Association, and then specifically what you are doing now.
Sure. So I became involved with KVNA about 8 years ago when I was asked to be on the board. I'm a local pharmacist and business owner with Good Value Pharmacy here, and so I love the small town local organization feel that our organization and KVNA had, and we've been partners long term and taking care of patients in the community. So it was an honor to join the board, and so I did serve on the KVNA board as a board member and then board chair, and then. The board kind of decided a couple years ago that it was best for us to start looking for a partner with more resources to operate KVNA. Just because of the environment, healthcare, and home health specifically, we decided that it was no longer financially feasible or responsible to continue, operating as an independent. Even though we would have wanted to do that, we decided that it would be best to find a bigger partner with more resources to pass that along to. So that's what we did. So KVNA is still operating, but our board is independent of those operations, and so now we have leftover assets and resources from operating KVNA, and so we've renamed that ANVK. And so our mission now, instead of taking care of patients in the community, will be to use those financial resources to support the similar population in the community.
Very good. And before we move on to that, and even though this isn't, in a sense, our primary focus, I really think it would be valuable for anybody who's relatively new to the community or maybe just unfamiliar with the Kenosha Visiting Nurses Association for you to just say a quick word about what their mission has been, as Amy said, for nearly a century.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it all started in the 1920s when there was a need for public health nurses to visit the home and take care of patients. That took a lot of the stress off of both caretakers in the home and also physicians who probably were very burdened at the time. So visiting nurses filled that public health gap. And so KVNA was kind of born out of that model and has operated with that mission, obviously in varying degrees based on technology and legislation and all those things that change healthcare. But for the last 100 years, KVNA has and continued to take care of patients in the community.
Right. Very good. Linda Scott, who's joining us via telephone. Alex, before we went on the air, said that probably the best way to summarize your role with AVNK is that you are, in a sense, operating as their CEO. Is that a decent way to summarize your responsibilities?
That is. I actually joined the organization in 2019. And right at the time, as Alex was saying, the board is examining, the state of home health care and what the future looked like, and looking at bringing a partner in who could make long-term commitments to the community as a home health care service delivery organization. And we accomplished that in 2022, and Kenosha Visiting Nurse Association continues to function in delivering home nursing, home therapy, and affiliated services to people in their home throughout Kenosha Racine counties. And what we've done is reorganized the core of the 100-year-old organization to form ANVK, and our mission that we've reorganized around is the same in serving elderly, disabled, homebound in ways that are different than we did before. Kenosha Visiting Nurse Association continues to deliver home health care services. ANVK now will function as a philanthropic organization. And so the first action in this reorganization, in this partnership with Kenosha Community Foundation, is this grant program that Amy's introducing.
We'll talk about that in just a moment. Thank you for the great summary. Amy Greil, maybe you could just say a word about why an organization like the ANVK would not want to just do all of this dispersal on their own. What does a group like the Kenosha Community Foundation bring to the table in terms of facilitating this and getting involved in it at all?
Correct. Yes, I think we bring a lot to the table. So first off, we are located in Kenosha, and we have a team here to oversee grant making, which essentially would mean that we solicit applications. We conduct all of the screening through our volunteers of applications for grants, and then we would issue the grant awards. We receive the reports. So there isn't a measure of accountability that we can kind of establish on behalf of the grant-making function. But then we also, of course, conduct our audit annually and manage all the accounting in the meantime. So for a very, I think, affordable fee, we can really do a wraparound sort of service provision to organizations like AVNK.
Right. I suppose it would be really, if someone isn't really acquainted with this kind of work, it would be easy to make the assumption that this isn't that big a deal, and I think this is something we can handle. And then you get into the thick of it, and you realize that this is really this is a complicated business, especially if you're committed to the idea of doing it right.
Correct. And fortunately, we have already such a grant-making kind of legacy in the community that we have a lot of relationships with a lot of nonprofits already that would be delivering services aligned with the focus of ANVK. So it's not like having to recreate the wheel and not knowing who can apply for these grants. I mean, if you go at it alone, I think you will end up having to do a lot more work because you don't have this sort of the network that we would have here at the Kenosha Community Foundation.
So maybe you can explain, and Linda and Alex are welcome to chime in, but help us understand the nature of the partnership, the connection between the Kenosha Community Foundation and ANVK. What does that partnership really look like? I mean, maybe philosophically, what is it? And then when it comes to kind of the nuts and bolts of actually making it work, what is that partnership?
Sure. So we love this kind of work because, of course, a charitable organization like ANVK working so closely for the benefit of local individuals, particularly those of like a vulnerable kind of position, that's exactly the sweet spot that the Kenosha Community Foundation wants to be involved with. We're really here for communities and want to address gaps that otherwise, exist. So I'm really excited about it, not only because it's sort of like a new a rebirth of sorts of a partnership, but that we can put in action the goodwill and the resources that people had brought to KVNA over all these years, that we can continue a legacy of giving and kind of renew a spirit of just community service. And it's interesting because, excuse me, some of the donors that came to KVNA and some of the leadership at KVNA, they actually are already involved with our foundation. So you see that there's some alignment in the visionaries that have existed in the Kenosha community across our two organizations. And I mean, it's just an honor to see that we have sort of like a rebirth of a partnership here. So really exciting.
That's great. Alex, because you have a longer connection in terms of a history with the Kenosha Visiting Nurses Association, I wonder if you could just explain the nature of KVNA's fundraising efforts. And I think somebody mentioned the first time that occurred, but why were they in the business of fundraising, of soliciting donations and so on? Was it for any particular purpose?
Well, I think it was to support KVNA's mission of taking care of people in the community that needed it most. That's not the exact mission, but that summarizes it pretty good. And I think, there was a donation made, was it the 1990s you said?
97.
97, yeah. And so that initial donation was kind of like a nest egg for KVNA, where we could have some safe assets set aside for a rainy day, but also potentially use it to directly support the mission in the future. And so, fast forward, almost 30 years, we're to the point where we can start putting that resource to work now with KCF. And from our perspective, it has always made a ton of sense for them to be involved, to take that side of the mission off of our plate, because it is very complex, and it's important to, like you said, to do it the right way, and we believe that they will.
Linda Scott, CEO of ANVK, what are exactly your central responsibilities? What kind of work do you do with ANVK, and then particularly what role do you play now in this new partnership with the Kenosha Community Foundation?
So my role has been focused to this point in managing and running the operations, working with the board and facilitating the sale of the operating assets, and now the reorganization of ourselves into our new identity of ANVK, and finalizing our mission and beginning this work, which is to take that board restricted fund that Alex referred to that we established in 1997 and turn that into an endowment within the foundation that we've been talking about today. And that means that now we were able to, and my role is to continue the, facilitating the relationships, helping to bring information to the board who knew all along that we wanted to serve a charitable purpose, but we weren't sure how. And Kenosha Community Foundation already knows how. They're experts at it. And we have the evidence of that because the account that we established back in 97 through the fiduciary management of investments has grown significantly. And that's part of the power of the foundation is they can put our money and your money and their money together as a large fund with pretty conservative strategies on investments and safely manage money for growth. And then they also have all the functionality that Amy mentioned about designing grants, managing grants, following up with donors, things like that. They've got that entire capability right there. And so we can go, wow, can you guys help us distribute money in the community? And it's like an amazing partnership that was meant to be.
Amy is grinning ear to ear as she listens to you describe this. I mean, and really, that really says it all, doesn't it, Amy, in terms of why the community foundation exists in the first place and why this particular partnership makes so much sense.
Correct. Absolutely. We're excited for the future. And, we believe that this new field of interest fund, we can talk about kind of the vehicle for making grants. We believe this is extremely responsive to an aging community. And we never, prior to this fund, had a intended focus to reach homebound individuals, seniors, those with disabilities. This is, I think, right where we want to be. So really exciting.
Fantastic. For those of you just joining us on today's morning show, we're talking with Amy Greil, who is Executive Director of the Kenosha Community Foundation. She has been on the morning show several times before, and we're excited to reconnect with her. For the first time, we're speaking with Linda Scott, who is acting as CEO of ANVK, and Alex Burse is a member of their board. Alex's family owns and operates 4 Good Value Pharmacy locations in southeastern Wisconsin, and he has been associated with Kenosha Visiting Nurses Association for a few years. Alex, as a board member, what kind of responsibilities do you have and have you had?
Before the transition into ANVK, when I was on the KVNA board, we were responsible for overseeing the home health and visiting nurses operations of KVNA. So that was very involved with quality, making sure that our staff was providing the utmost care, and that care translated into measurable outcomes. And then there's obviously other things that come up with an organization, but we just tried to make sure that the boat was heading in the right direction, and kind of supervised the CEO that was in place at whatever time we're talking about, and so this was a volunteer commitment from mostly community folks that lived in Kenosha that had their own full-time career that spent part of their time on the board. And so that after we sold off the operating assets of KVNA, then it transitioned into more of a role of transitioning into what we are today, which is that philanthropic organization.
Exactly. And of course, as you yourself, as a busy pharmacist, understand the time constraints that you and others have. And so I suppose for you probably have a special appreciation for the contribution that the Kenosha Community Foundation makes to all of this. I mean, otherwise, many of the things they're trying to take care of, you and your fellow board members would be trying to take care of.
That's exactly right. Yeah, there's no way that we'd be able to juggle our careers and our families and this grant giving and money management process. So we're grateful to the specialists like Amy and her organization for taking that off of our plate.
Very good. So, Amy, explain what this new fund looks like, what it's called, and who it is designed to service, who it is designed to help.
Correct. So we have a new fund called the ANVK. I wish I knew the technical name. Maybe so Linda has the agreement in front of her. But yeah, so this will be a field of interest fund, which means the donor, ANVK, defines the field of interest. There you are. So we have already a number of field of interest funds, but in this case, it's really directing financial resources grants to those who are requiring service in home for a range of what Linda said was sort of expenses that are not covered by insurance. So we have, quite I think, a responsibility here to get creative and see what that exactly looks like. There are organizations, nonprofits that are serving this demographic in the community already, but we can kind of frame, I think, healthcare and health a little bit more broadly than it has been, to include perhaps meal programs. We'll have to wait and see who can apply for this and find themselves in this field of interest. But I'm really optimistic that we can reach now nonprofits that are already doing the work and they're experts in the work. And now we come forward with some actual funding to deepen their, abilities to reach people in the community. Is that helpful, Greg?
Absolutely. Who is involved in that process that you were just talking about in terms of kind of sorting out exactly who would be appropriate recipients for this? Are those discussions happening at the Kenosha Community Foundation or at the ANVK or both and between the two? I mean, what's the nature of this process of, in a sense, sorting out the particulars?
Yeah, really great question, because in real time, yesterday I was speaking to Linda for a period about the grant making process, because interestingly, on Monday, our field of interest funds are actually opening for applications. So we have this new fund rolled into our other, field of interest funds. And so we're going live on Monday.
Very quickly.
Yes, very quickly. So, that was part of the reason that we really wanted to move this ahead, kind of in, a spirit of just including it in our already existent grant cycle. But yeah, so, and then yesterday when I was talking to Linda, we're putting on, kind of putting the wheels on a plan. Like, is it a limit on a maximum grant award? Would we try to limit it, 5,000, 10,000? Or do we take the whole, distribution out of the endowment, roughly $25,000? Could we envision giving it to a single organization? So does it have to have a maximum grant award and we spread it out over a couple organizations? Or we just don't know what to expect because this is our first time really doing this. So, we kind of, in real time are talking about the advantages of saying there's no maximum grant. Really, let's see what the nonprofits in the community want to do, once they submit applications, then we can start looking through those and saying, in consultation with the board, one of the board members from ANVK will remain on our grants review committee so that they can see firsthand the quality of the applicants and start weighing in on, okay, like we have some really interesting projects and ideas kind of stirring. They're bringing their ideas to us. So then, how do we best support the community with these dollars? It's just so cool.
Wow. Linda Scott, what are your thoughts at this point in time in terms of what Amy is bringing up, this kind of matter of who this should serve and how best to serve them? What do you think the nature of ongoing conversations is likely to be, or how do you think this is best framed?
I think that what Amy mentioned is that we want the applicants, really, the people who might deliver services through our funds, to make some suggestions about what they're able to do. Our board came up with so many very specific ideas of where money could be used to help serve our overall mission, which is elderly, disabled, homebound, helping to keep people safe and independent in their homes over long term. And and as Amy mentioned, through things that are not currently covered through current health insurance or other funding mechanisms. So we're trying to fill really a hole, a gap. And we know that a lot of the things that are necessary in supporting long-term health are going to fall in the social determinants of health category. Food, transportation, access to services, translation, minor adaptations for home safety. I could go on. And again, in the same way that we, Alex and all of us, are not an investment or financial management organization, we're also not good at or skilled at doing those things, but others are. So this, again, is the partnership. Is Kenosha Community Foundation and Amy are going to manage the money and the process to get the word out like, hey, there's an opportunity to fund some of the programs and supports that the nonprofit organizations, who are numerous and effective in Kenosha already, there's some more stuff that maybe could be done and some funds available. So why don't you guys take a look? And that's why this first round of funding is going to be really interesting. We know generally how it's going to go into service in the community, but we're waiting for our nonprofit organizations to tell us exactly how. And then that committee will make some determinations and we'll go from there. And we've got the opportunity to make adjustments over the lifetime of the endowment, because remember, this is in perpetuity.
So, Amy, explain what this timeline looks like, and also the basics in terms of this application piece of it. I mean, who and what and how do these applications get made to the community foundation?
Right. So the applications go live actually on Monday, as I suggested, and they will close on July 8th. So a little plug to any nonprofits listening that they would they would go on our website and find the online application. So fortunately, our team in the office, Marion Bothy, has been able to put all of our applications online. So it's it's easier for those that are, going through their day and trying to, wear many hats and fill out grant applications on top of everything else, that they would fill out the application and really describe certainly their organizational mission and how it aligns with our mission, because of course these are our resources now, and we consider grant making a partnership with the organizations, of course, that have entrusted us with their money, but also the partnership to deliver services with whoever we select as a grant recipient. So, discussing their mission, sharing with us the budget for the, particular project or program that they have, what is their sort of strategy for continuous improvement. If, many of these organizations may already receive grants from us, so we'd love to hear, how this is different and will add a richness or possibly complement what is already happening with our other grant funds. So, yeah, it's just an exciting opportunity to kind of peer into an organization through the application to find out what are some synergies. And ideally, we get a host of really interesting applications for programming that we are, perhaps unaware of, but really serve a critical need. So there'll be a lot of learning in this process. And I think I agree with Linda that we're just going to kind of throw open our doors and open our minds to whatever the community kind of tells us is necessary.
Makes a lot of sense. Linda Scott, we're going to let you go, but do you have any last thoughts you want to share?
This has been another milestone of exciting ones in the history of some important organizations in the community. It's been great talking to you about it today.
Great to have you. Linda Scott, CEO for ANBK. Thank you for being part of the morning show today. It was great to have you.
Thank you.
Bye, Linda.
Bye, Linda.
Alex, I wanted to take a moment, Alex Burse. Again, you've been a part of Kenosha Visiting Nurses Association and now AVNK. But first and foremost, you're a pharmacist. Could you just say a quick word about what drew you into this really interesting field?
Sure. Yeah. So I grew up around it. My dad was a pharmacist and bought Good Value Pharmacy in 2000 after managing it for a couple of years for the former owner. And so I was a kid at the time, and so I grew up around the pharmacy. When I became working age, which back then was a little bit earlier than it is today, I think, at least formally, I was a pharmacy technician since I was 15 or 16 years old. And I ultimately went to college and decided to pursue pharmacy. So I got my doctorate in pharmacy from UW-Madison and then moved back to Kenosha to be a pharmacy manager for one of the stores in 2012. And then a couple years later, my father passed away, and unexpectedly. And so my brother and I were the only family members that were pharmacists. So, I took over the leadership of the company, and my brother Phil ended up deciding to be a doctor. So so my mother is still the owner of Good Value Pharmacy, and our goal is to remain independent and meet the needs of the community that are unmet by other pharmacies, most of which are nationwide corporations. And so, we continue to do that, and that continues to be our mission.
And I should think that as a working pharmacist, you probably have a higher level of awareness than a lot of us do about some of the issues that we've been talking about today in terms of what allows people to remain safely and happily in their own homes.
Right. I think Linda hit it on the head of the nail when she said social determinants of health. Those are huge factors in quality of life and health outcomes. And some of the services that we develop at the pharmacy are really dialed into those needs. So one classic example is our free delivery service. Sometimes people need a prescription, access to a prescription same day, and if they don't live in walking distance to a pharmacy, or they don't have a car, or the bus doesn't work for them for whatever reason, that need is met by our free delivery service. And so, that's just one example of the ways we try to meet the people where they are, instead of, just offer services based on what's best for our business.
Right. And Amy, I should think that just makes your heart sing to think about people who are part of this world, who bring that kind of sincere concern.
Correct. And to hear the word independent, the Kenosha Community Foundation is independent from anything else. And to hear good pharmacy, you guys are independent. Like let's hang in there and really represent the local community to the fullest extent.
Very good. Alex Burse is on the board of directors for ANVK. It's been great to make your acquaintance and appreciate you being part of the morning show today.
Yeah, great meeting you. Thanks for taking the time to have this important conversation.
You bet. Absolutely. In our closing few minutes, Amy, would you like to talk about 4 other grant programs that the Kenosha Community Foundation offers to the community?
Sure. So indeed, we're opening on Monday our Field of Interest grant cycle, and currently we have ANVK going live, but we also have LaFave Field of Interest Fund that really focuses on like arts and tolerance and educational programming. Is really interesting. Suzanne LaFave was a teacher in the community, and in her passing, they set up a fund that really looks to advance sort of the education that she was most passionate about. We have the OMC Legacy Fund. We have the oh goodness, I'm just nervous. OMC and the Arts Fund.
Yep.
And the Women's Fund. So it's just a really exciting time to hear again from a host of organizations that are doing really interesting and value-added work in the community. And now we have a new one to add to this this slate of grants. So again, opens on Monday and will close on July 8th, and we look forward to having a range of applications come in.
You are awaiting the onslaught, as they say. In your list of talking points today, you made mention of the Kenosha County Ceremonial Courtroom fundraising campaign. We devoted a whole morning show to that several months ago. And what do you want to report?
Absolutely. We have a very happy update that as of this week, we're anticipating the final check to come through to meet our $1.35 million goal in cash and pledges. So, pending this check, we'll be submitting everything to the Jeffress Foundation, and we'll be working through the $675,000 that will be coming this way through that very, very reputable and hugely impactful foundation out of Janesville, Wisconsin, and they really double down on historical preservation and the fact that they've made this investment in Kenosha. It's just a beautiful story as well, and really demonstrates the breadth of the sorts of things that the Kenosha Community Foundation involves itself with. I mean, charitable causes are very broad and diverse, and because we are a community foundation, we can really tread into many spaces. It's just so cool.
Absolutely. And this is, for those who aren't aware, this is a restoration of a beautiful ceremonial courtroom in the courthouse that in, I think, the 1970s got kind of plastered over in haste, and all kinds of incredibly beautiful artwork and details were completely obscured. And this restoration process allows for this ceremonial courtroom to regain its original splendor. And I know a lot of people are incredibly excited about this. I know that you have some scholarship awards that also are going into play that you're excited about.
Correct. So we are giving 50 different scholarship awards out to the community, and that, I mean, some of them are over 4 years. The Mahone Fund, for example, gives scholarships of $1,000 to students over 4 or even 5 years. So we'll be distributing $137,000 this year in scholarship awards, and I think career prep and our donors' interest in ensuring higher ed access and higher ed credentialing. I just, that's another really great opportunity of work that KCF has been involved with for a long time too.
Finally, I want to give you a chance to say something about the KCF's report to the community. If somebody is intrepid enough to explore it and read this sizable document, what kinds of things can they learn?
Well, thanks, Greg, because I'm really excited, and I want to attribute so much of this work to a partner of ours, Leslie Brothers, who really, really did such a beautiful project out of this forward-looking document that really is trying to set the table and a context for our future grant making. So, I want to see emergent philanthropists understand themselves in light of our other donors and sort of the needs in the community. So this document explores through the lens of research what are some of the areas of concern, opportunity here in Kenosha. So workforce development, we already talked about all the work we do in scholarship making, but we have a lot of interest on the part of our donors to say, how else can we be putting charitable dollars to work to not only put better paying jobs into play for a lot of people, but also how are those that are historically kind of shut out of, opportunities, professional opportunities, such as those with felony convictions and things like that. Like, there is a space here in workforce development that is not being necessarily met through traditional means. And so scholarship making is a big piece of that, but so are our grants to nonprofits that are serving a lot of vulnerable populations. Second to the workforce is human services, and certainly ANVK is part of the reason that we've really started to develop this, because we know healthcare and health services are underserved, so many areas that we just want to be in that space to support a range of health and human service organizations. And finally, one that we've never really talked about or really specified, but natural resources is it's got to be on the radar. We all live in a place that is feeling the effects of climate change, and we have some really interesting traction with regenerative farming. You might recall another one of your morning shows, Paul Maggio was here, and around farmer-led, conservation practices and water quality, and there's so much interesting work that can be done. It's a regional issue, of course, but certainly we are most passionate about those farmers and those communities that are right here in Kenosha County. So that's a little bit of what I explore through the report to the community.
And if people want to see that, what's the best way for them to access it?
Absolutely. Our website is the best place to find the report, and you can certainly request one from our office, because you're going to want a printed copy because it's really lovely. It features all of our updated branding, and I'm just so proud of the piece that Leslie and I were able to kind of provide to the community.
Very good. We hope people will seek that out. Amy Greil, Executive Director of the Kenosha Community Foundation. It's always great to speak with you and about the good work that you and your colleagues are doing, and we look forward to future visits to the morning show.
Thank you, Greg.
I'm Gregory Berg.